This football is nearly 100 years old. It's been kicked around since the 1930s, so it's fair to say it's not in great shape and is now unusable. But in this video, I'm going to be restoring this football to its former glory and then testing it out at the end of the video. Hopefully doing it well enough that 100 years from now, this ball can still be kicked about. Now, you're probably wondering how I even got my hands on a 100-year-old football in the first place. Now, I'd love to tell you I was searching through my granddad's old shed and came across one of his old footballs he used to use way back when, but the truth is I bought it for £250 from an antiques dealer, which seems a pretty crazy price, right, for a useless football, but I saw the potential. This is when I unboxed it. I wasn't sure if it was going to fall apart or not because it looks so fragile, but although it doesn't look like much now, I want to get this thing back up and running. Now, I know what you're thinking, why not just buy an old football from the internet? They only cost £20. Well, I did in fact buy Amazon's old-fashioned football.
But the problem is, this ball wasn't made 100 years ago. It probably wasn't even made 100 days ago. Although it looks like a football from the 1930s, it plays like a modern ball.
Just by kicking it, I can tell it's not actually a vintage football. It's way too light and absolutely flies through the air. And I want to try the real thing. So that's why I bought this. Now, before I begin the process of making this ball brand new, I want to test it as it is now so we have something to compare it to later on.
Right, so first things first, I'm at the pitch because I'm going to have a little kick around with the 100-year-old football and see how bad it really is and how much work we've got to do to get it up and running again. So yeah, let's have a kick about.
First up was the bounce test. And this ball, well, it doesn't really have any bounce at all. So that's the first problem we're going to need to fix, and that's a pretty important one. Next up was skills, and surprisingly, this ball wasn't great for that either. Next up was the dribble test, and I'll let you be the judge of how this ball did. And finally, what about shooting? So yeah, from those tests, it was clear that it was going to take a lot to get this ball back up and running again.
Right, so we've tested it out of the pitch and we know it's not very good. Now we've got to figure out what needs to be done to this ball to get it back in working order. And I can think of quite a few things. For example, the leather is just completely destroyed. That needs to be redone. These laces are basically non-existent, they've all come out now. Obviously the ball's completely flat, so we're going to need to do something about that. And all round, the leather just needs to be better, smoother, get rid of any imperfections on the leather. So yeah, it's quite a big task, but I think it'll be a fun one. Let's get into it. Right, so first things first, I'm going to clean this ball as much as possible, and that gives us a good base to start with. So. Right, so I should have cleaned any dirt and excess bits off the ball. Now I'm going to leave it to dry overnight, and then tomorrow we can start step 2 of the restoration.
So I put the ball on the side to dry overnight. And then the following day, before I could start the next step of the restoration, I noticed that there was a strange rattling sound coming from inside the ball.
I don't know if you can hear that, there's definitely something in this football. So you can see the old bladder ripped up inside this football. Although I'm not sure if this is an extra one or this is the one from the 1930s, because it looks fairly modern, to be fair. Whoa, that is absolutely ripped to shreds, that. It looks like a pumpkin, that, what the hell? Yeah, this is the old inside of the ball, which clearly is absolutely destroyed. So we're definitely going to need a new one of them. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that yet.
So whilst I think of how to get a new bladder for inside this ball, there's a few more things I can get started on in the meantime. Next up was the task of removing this old lace from the ball. Brand new, it would have looked a bit like this, but over the years it's obviously broken and fallen out. And this was a pretty easy task to do. I now got back to finding a way to make this ball actually take shape like a ball instead of just being a squish bit of leather. Now it turns out it's actually surprisingly hard to find a bladder for a football online. So I had to get creative. I noticed that I had some old footballs in a bin at the top of my garden, so I decided to take the inside from one of these and transfer it to the 1930s ball.
Wow. Actually, I think this one might be too knackered. I think I'm gonna have to get a better one than this. This is not gonna last very long. It's not in good repair, if you can see that.
So the inside of this ball was too battered to go inside the 1930s ball, but I did manage to get my hands on a bladder that was in great condition and one that should last a long time.
This is not easy. That should be alright for now. Right, now we've got the really hard bit. Right, so the bladder is in, and before we can see if that actually works and makes the ball take shape, I've got to put the lace in these lines here, which is going to be very fiddly. So, I'm going to need this. There we go. So the ball is now officially round, and I could definitely kick that, but there's still a few more things we need to do to get this looking good. So first up here, I've got some beeswax leather restorer, so hopefully this should make the whole ball a lot smoother.
I then added this waterproof wax. This was just an extra layer of protection for the leather and to keep the ball somewhat water resistant. Adding this really made the leather on the ball have that shiny effect and look 10 times better. This ball's looking even better than I expected it to look. This is so good. This leather polish is just changing the game. So I'll finish off polishing the ball, and this was the final product.
That is mad. The 100-year-old football has been restored to its former glory. Now it's time to take it to the pitch and really test if this ball works, and hopefully I've made it well enough so that it doesn't break after the first 5 kicks. You know what, it feels quite heavy and solid. That is exactly what we wanted, the real experience of a 1930s football.
So before I test this ball out and make sure that it actually works, let's see what the ball looked like at the start of the video and compare it to now. So much better. It's actually shaped like a ball for a start. It's got new laces, the leather looks so much better, and all round I'm buzzing with how it turned out. But now for the important part, the test.
Right, so I'm back down at the pitch with the 100-year-old football, and I've got to say I'm really happy with how it turned out. It looks really good, really smooth, and I'm hoping it's going to work. This is the important part now. I'm going to do some tests with this ball to make sure it works, including 50 shots at the end, and if it survives all of those and then makes it out in one piece, good to go, then I would say job done, task completed. Right, so the first test, we need to see if this ball actually bounces, because at the start of the week, this is what happened.
So at the start of the video, this ball had no bounce whatsoever, but just look at it now.
The ball bounces, that's a good start. Right, so now I'm going to test this ball out for skills, and hopefully it now works for that, because at the start of the week it was absolutely useless.
So yeah, this was before, and as you can see, terrible. But let's see what it's like now.
That's good.
This was me dribbling the ball at the start of the video. And now it actually moves properly along the ground. That is a great result. So far so good, but there is one final test, and this one is most likely to cause problems, and that is shooting. Obviously at the start of the video the ball was useless, but let's take my first shot with a legitimate ball from the 1930s.
Okay, now it's time to do some shooting with this restored 100-year-old football. It's quite heavy, so I'm not expecting anything crazy, but imagine if it just goes top bins on the first shot. Wow, that is heavy. Whoa. Now the final test is the most important one. I'm going to take 50 shots with this 100-year-old football, and if by the end of those shots it still works, then that means the task has successfully been completed. This ball is so heavy right now. So I've been using this ball for a bit now, and it's got wet from the grass, and it is so heavy right now. Right, 50 shots complete, and did the ball survive? Yes, look at that thing, man. It is still good to go. The only thing is, it's soaking wet and is now so heavy, but that's not the point. The point is, it survived, it didn't break, and it still works. But there is one more thing that I've got to do with it.